You know that you've position sized way too big when you cannot sleep at night and you keep worrying about your position.
I would have a lot of people say, "Why don't you sell all your other assets and buy more Bitcoin? Why do you stay diversified? Why do you have gold? Why do you have, X, Y, Z?" And I would explain, like, that there are risks. I'm not going to go 100% in the asset, especially such a volatile asset. And of course, now, I don't get those types of questions. I get, why did you ever buy Bitcoin? Why, what is this is done now? It's over. It's been a good run.
Hi, this is Leslie. Hope you're well. I recently spoke with the analyst and economist Lynn Olden, and I asked her this very important question.
From what I've seen, there's a lot of people who are feeling frustrated, probably bitter, and just, I guess, exasperated because some people obviously have lost money in Bitcoin and crypto. Maybe people who bought at the very dead highs, or people who maybe missed the opportunity for some reason or other to sell at a better price and have held on and are now either in a loss or lost a lot of profit that it could have made. I just wanted to know, what would you say to people out there who are just feeling, I guess, frustrated, bitter, angry, what's been happening with Bitcoin? What kind of lesson or something you learned that you can share with people out there that they could learn from you?
So I think one is risk management and position sizing, right? So, I've always recommended a diversified portfolio. And even that's been obviously challenging in this environment because you've had unusually high correlation between bonds and stocks. So stocks are down, bonds are down, gold is like sideways. Crypto is, Bitcoin and crypto are severely impaired. Energy is one of the areas that did well even recently. That's run into turbulence, right? So there's been rather few places to hide in this kind of market type of carnage. And actually, I saw some statistics that in terms of trillions of dollars, the amount of capital that's been wiped away has already exceeded the 2008, crisis, because you had basically stocks go down and bonds, held up in that environment. Where now, even though the stock carnage is nowhere near as bad as back then, when you look at multiple assets combined, it's actually been a huge loss of capital for a lot of people. So there are a lot of people frustrated. Um, when it comes to Bitcoin, I would basically urge, you know, careful position sizing and then focusing on long-term fundamentals. So going back to sentiment, I mean, back when Bitcoin was sharply rising, I would have a lot of people say, "Why don't you sell all your other assets and buy more Bitcoin? Why do you stay diversified? Why do you have gold? Why do you have, X, Y, Z?" And I would explain, like, that there are risks. I'm not going to go 100% in the asset, especially such a volatile asset. And of course, now, I don't get those types of questions. I get, why did you ever buy Bitcoin? Why, what is this is done now? It's over. It's been a good run, right? So sentiment can
Exactly.
change very much based on what's happened with price action. Whereas, I'm pretty deeply tied into the companies in the space, the VCs. In the past few months, I've been getting into venture capital myself and Bitcoin only companies, to figure out how we can deploy capital and build, new businesses and get seed capital to people that want to use Bitcoin, the Lightning Network, to solve real world problems. And so I would leave investors with that. I mean, basically, this is the time to focus on what's real, what's being built, what problems are being solved, especially when you look at, again, globally. So the whole world, developing markets especially, and seeing what are the problems with the money system, what's happening with inflation, what's happening with authoritarian countries or frozen bank accounts and all sorts of things like that, and what technologies can actually be useful for them. And so, for that type of reason, I'm long-term structurally bullish on Bitcoin, but that doesn't come without risks, and then it doesn't come without volatility. I mean, Bitcoin's always
Yes.
had pretty crazy volatility. We've just seen the downward side of that, and so I think it's about managing position sizes and then focusing on the fundamentals, which, contrary to popular belief, there are fundamentals. So basically, you can look at what's happening in terms of development, what's happening with the Lightning Network, what's happening with, uh, you know, basically different wallets and ecosystems around the whole space. What's happening with, adoption in certain developing markets? What's happening with on-chain indicators?
Yes.
Are you below cost basis or are you very euphoric, right? There are different ways to analyze the market, I think, to understand what's happening under the hood.
Thing you mentioned in your, I think it was an article you wrote, which is that the key lesson about position sizing, you know that you've position sized way too big, is when you cannot sleep at night and you keep worrying about your position. So maybe reduce your position size to, I think, would you agree with that? Reduce your position size to a level where you can sleep at night comfortably without being worried.
I think so, yeah. Basically, if you're overweight something, especially something that's volatile, and you're worrying about it, I mean, the whole point, investing is supposed to make you happy over the long run, right? You're building up wealth for yourself. You're improving your financial standpoint. And if you're worried about your portfolio, if you're stressing yourself out, you're detracting from your well-being, right? So you have to tailor your portfolio based on around your conviction, around your risk tolerance, and all sorts of variables like that. And so, I think if you are interested in the space, you want to take into account that volatility. Now, for many people, it's already been made a smaller position size for them just by nature of the decline, right? So now they have less allocated to it as a percentage of the portfolio if they already had, some degree of diversification. But I think going forward, that's a lesson for people to learn, which is that if you're excited about something, you still want to check yourself and be like, okay, can I handle volatility in this asset? How much conviction do I really have in this asset, especially when times are tough? And so I think that diversifying carefully is what gives you, the tolerance to get through periods of volatility. If you have a X% position in Bitcoin, and it's not like something that's going to make or break your finances when it goes up, when it triples or when it gets cut in half, right? You can let that run and let that thesis play out and monitor risks and have that do its thing without kind of worrying about it too much.
Thank you very much, Lynn. And guys, please do check out Lynn's newsletter and her premium service. Please go to this. Again, I think it's a brilliant service that she provides. lynnalden.com/premium. And you can find out all the details about that and subscribe to her newsletter.